Hello all, this is Dr. Dave Maslak talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video I'm going to talk to you about dealing with PhD disappointment, and as well as having a project development mindset. So if you don't know me, I am a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out that I wanted to pay the favor forward and help you out. So why am I talking about PhD disappointment? So yesterday I received some bad news on an article I've been working on for a very long time. I started this article in 2008-ish, is now 2020. And I've been working at it and developing it and thinking through the idea and revising it and sending it to several different journals. And every time I send it to different journals, it doesn't get accepted, which is fine. I completely understand on their side where they're coming from in terms of the particular idea, and I'll continue to refine it. But what it got me thinking about, and of course I was really disappointed when I got the news, as everybody is disappointed when they get this kind of news, right? Because it takes a lot of effort to develop even a simple paper, a simple idea. And even if you're a rock star, it's still going to take you a good couple years to develop an idea from start to finish that is well accepted, right? So, in terms of thinking about this, in terms of how I think about this, I want you to understand that I don't necessarily view a paper as it's done as soon as it is developed, and that's the only thing that I'm thinking about. And I also try not to think of it in terms of the outcomes, in terms of, that I'm not necessarily a good person, or I'm not successful enough or anything like that whenever I have these particular outcomes, or even when I do get successful outcomes. It doesn't necessarily it matters. It's really important to me, but I try not to dwell on that as much as I possibly can. Instead, I'm trying to think about doing these projects, these ideas, in terms of developing like a big building, right? So for me, each idea that I develop, and you can see behind me that they are building a building, it takes a lot of work to get that building built. And it's not just when they're building it right now, right? That this will take them a good couple years to build this building, from the start, then when they start working on the foundation to when it's actually built, and then people start moving into this particular building. But there's a lot more to it. There's a tremendous amount of planning that happens before that. There might be 5 to 10 years of planning, maybe even longer than that, by the time somebody actually starts developing and actually building the particular building. And I want you to have that kind of mindset. So instead of thinking of these papers as doing something that's quick and you just kind of put it up there, and it's done, and you never pay attention to it, but rather have a mindset that whenever you start a paper or develop something, it's going to take you probably at least a decade by the time you start it, and by the time you actually get to the end where it's actually in completion, where you're satisfied with that particular idea. Every single person that I know sort of has this sort of idea or sort of trajectory. They work on a paper, they send it in, and it might not get accepted, and you send it someplace else, and you just constantly have these papers that are going around, and you're working on it and developing it. And there's a lot to be said in terms of changing your mindset, in terms of something that is going to be quick and easy, to something where you're developing something that's going to be there for a long time. And you have to really think about, you can get a paper accepted, but at the same time you want a paper that people are going to read, that is going to be part of the landscape. It's a lot like the architecture that goes on behind it, right? In terms of this building, they have to think about how it fits in with all the other buildings that are out there. At least a good architect will do that. And so that's what I want you to be thinking about with this. In terms of the mindset, to know that it is a journey. The process is not quick. It's not easy. And you have to keep getting up and keep moving towards this. So the person that started the idea with this particular building, or any particular building, they knew it was going to take a long time, and yet they still picked it up and they still kept going with it. So whenever you get these disappointments, just realize that it is about the journey of building something that is probably pretty impressive once it's done, but it takes a long time by the time you get there. And for every time that the architecture or the design team puts in an application and it gets rejected, you just have to imagine that's what you're going through with this process, is that you're trying to develop something from start, and often you do get a lot of rejections, and often it is challenging for most of us to deal with these kind of things. Just give yourself some grace, pick yourself up. You might put it down for a little bit, but then try to keep coming back and thinking about, what is going on here? How can we develop this further? So there's something I want you to think about. You might be asking and thinking about yourself in terms of, well, why doesn't this person just stop with this particular paper? Well, there's a problem that ends up happening, that you develop a really good understanding of what's going on there with the particular idea in the particular paper. And every time that you work on a new paper, you have to restart and rethink about that. And you go through the exact same process where you have to pick everything up and understand things. There's a tremendous amount of effort. There's a tremendous amount of switching costs that happens in terms of switching to a new idea. In every paper, every idea goes through these cycles where you're developing it and trying to think through it, and you keep sending it out and you keep working at it. Most people, most academics that go through this journey, they're constantly doing these kind of things. Some people are exceptionally lucky and exceptionally talented. It's probably more talent than luck. And they get through these things very quickly. But for most of us, we keep working at it and we keep trying to push these ideas forward. And that's what I want you to have with this mindset, is that it's going to take a long time, and you keep working at it, and you keep sort of, maybe you bring in other people, you look for different resources, you keep sort of working towards a particular goal of building the building. So hopefully this helps you with dealing with PhD disappointment. I want to acknowledge that we all deal with this on a regular basis, no matter how long you've been in the journey. It is a struggle, and it's disappointing. Acknowledge it, give yourself some grace, and then move forward and can keep working towards that building. All right, take care. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right, bye.